Welcome back to Exit 99 Sports. As always, Caleb DeLoach, joined by Cody Hinkebein, and we're coming off another good week of basketball. We're really in the heart of the season now. We're past, hopefully, for a while, some snow and other bad weather. So yeah, nothing to look forward to, but just good basketball games. It was a fun week around the area, Cody. Just a lot of good basketball going on right now.
Yeah, only to get better. I mean, we got a lot of conference games coming up, a lot of teams getting ready for district play, and that's what you play for. Get ready for the postseason. About a month left.
Yeah, and we'll, just go ahead and jump right into it. This past week was pretty busy. Jackson started off the week kind of in this area. They went up to Hillsboro, came up with a 10-point win there, 54-44. I went and did that game, and it was a tough ball game. Jackson, Cody, you've seen a lot of Jackson play. It was basically wash, rinse, repeat. It was a 10-point ball game. It was close. Hillsboro pushed in the third quarter, took a lead momentarily, and then, Jackson kind of did what they do. They restrict people defensively and hit enough free throws down the stretch, came up with another win.
Yeah, you don't see a lot of high-scoring games for Jackson this year. Very good defensive-minded team. Going to force turnovers, going to force bad shots, and rebound pretty well.
Yeah, Koldeck kind of got hot that game. He played very, very well, especially early in the ball game. I think he had 17 in the first half. He finished with 28. So he really got going. It was kind of more what we had been seeing. The last game Jackson played, Jory Toma really showed up with 18 points. That's by far the most second option points that Jackson's had all season long. And so this game was more what you expect to see. Koldeck had 28. Everybody else in single digits, but a lot of guys, same thing, just kind of a lot of guys stepped up. And I'll say it was, Jory Toma played well down the stretch, hit some shots, played well defensively. And that was, kind of the thing is all, we keep repeating it over and over again. Jackson gave up 44 points. I think Hillsboro came into the game averaging 56. So I think it's been every single game Jackson's played this season where they've given up less points than the team's averaging.
Yeah, hold their opponents to their lowest scoring output of the season. We've said it time and time again, but Jackson, very good on the defensive end this year.
Yeah, and I have them down as forcing 16 turnovers on Hillsboro. I will say, you weren't there in person to see the game. Mm-hmm. Greg Robinson of Hillsboro was awesome. He was a big guy for them. He's like 6'8", freak athlete. He was killing us. He was killing us inside. It was just the fouls. The fouls were crazy. I was trying my best not to complain on air during the game, but I think they had 29 free throws. Jackson had 14. Jackson shot well from the free throw line. I get 10 of 14. But coming into that fourth quarter, I think the free throw differential was 25 to 7. So I was slightly losing my mind. But yeah, Greg Robinson was a beast, and he had 23 free throws himself at 26 points. I looked up his stats on the St. Louis today's high school stats they keep, and they had him with 13 rebounds and 10 blocks. So that was kind of the issue in that ball game. He was just killing us inside, but we made enough plays to win. It's just kind of the same thing for Jackson. There's 14-2 now. Where do you kind of feel like Jackson's at right now?
Yeah, keep rolling. Definitely exceeding expectations, I feel like, for this season. And we mentioned it's still undefeated in the conference, so right where you want to be at this point in the season.
Yeah, and then the big game, especially involving teams in Southeast Missouri there on Tuesday as well, was Notre Dame going to Cape Central. I saw some people complaining. It was low scoring. It was 44-34. Cape Central won that ball game. I had Ryan Winkler, the guy who does games with us over for Cape Central, Withers Broadcasting. He sent me the point totals for that. It was kind of what you expect to see for Cape Central. Tyshandre Edwards had 10. Marquee Mills had 10. Antonio Sims did have 8 for them, so it's nice to see him step up. Goliath Morris Young with 6. So a lot of the same guys you expecting, but not a big number there in the score column.
Yeah, same thing. We talked about Notre Dame, really, how they should be kind of scoring a little bit more. They do later in the week. We'll talk about that. But, yeah, Notre Dame, 10-point loss to Cape.
Yeah, it was tough offensively. Their guys were really held down. Colton Johnson led them with 12. Brett Dohan had 8. But it was a tough day at the office, it seems like, for Notre Dame trying to score 33 points in 4 quarters, not too pretty. And that's kind of the second time we've seen, obviously Notre Dame it feels like when they are playing another team that might be level with them athletically or talent-wise. Cody and I also got to live through Notre Dame holding Charleston to 26 points, was it, in the Christmas tournament? So it kind of feels like they're fine with that style of play. Obviously, they want to come out of the winning side, but feels like that's kind of where Notre Dame's at, which is kind of across the board, I feel like, in Southeast Missouri. There hasn't been a lot of high-scoring nights for many teams. Sykeston wants to get up and down. But it feels like, Cape, Notre Dame, Jackson are very, very content just playing defensive battles.
Yep.
Yeah, just then, maybe some games that we aren't covering as closely, but notable and kind of a, who, like, they beat them by this much. Sykeston did go on the road to Farmington and lose that game. I know that was a big surprise for you.
For sure, yeah. I thought Sykeston was a favorite in that game. They mentioned Murray didn't play in that one, but Farmington with a 7-point victory. That one got up there, high-scoring game, 81-74. But you feel like Farmington kind of likes to play that game. Jackson defeated Farmington, but yeah, Sykeston on the road.
Yeah, because Jackson and Farmington played. It was a bit of a rock fight. I mean, it's how, like we talk about it, like that's how Jackson wants to play. They want to play defensive style. They're going to take the air out of the ball a little bit. I mean, obviously they have the ability with a guy like Cole Deck who can put up 30 in a ball game. But Jackson, I mean, look at their last handful of game final score. They've won them all. But Jackson has scored 49, 57, 50, 54, 50, 54. That's kind of the style. And every single one of those games, the most an opponent has scored is 48, and the least they've scored is 38. So, yeah, Jackson's been playing well, especially on that defensive side.
Yeah, we talked about, those of you that are familiar with football, Farmington not a conference team in basketball, so not a conference loss there for Sykeston, but nonetheless, Farmington 7-point victors.
Yeah, and so I guess we can just keep going down the week. It was a slow week for the area, kind of. Cape played the one game, Jackson played the one game, but Notre Dame did come back. They had a home game against Kennett, another team that Jackson saw earlier in the season, and they blew out Kennett from the start. Well, not from the start. It was a competitive game in the first quarter. I was able to watch all that one online, so they were it was just Brett Dohan. It was just Brett Dohan, more Brett Dohan, especially in the first half. He had 20 in the first half. I've talked about, Dohan a lot. I like his game. I think he's the best post player in Southeast Missouri. He's a lot of fun to watch, and somebody will get to be, well, you and I will get to see pretty soon too.
Yeah, obviously the big game coming up between Jackson and Notre Dame, but you talk about who played who. Jackson didn't really wasn't easy at Kennett.
No, tough ball.
This one was home for Notre Dame, but Notre Dame made it look easy.
Yeah, they really took over. Like I said, Dohan dominated. I mean, if he caught the ball with a foot in the paint, he scored just about every possession, especially there in that first half. Then in the second half, he was slowed down. Obviously, only 6 points in the second half. He finished with a double-double, 26 and 12. So he really balled out. And then Colton Johnson, Hudson Dennis, kind of got going in the second half. I think both of them scored nearly all their points. Had Johnson with 11, Dennis with 8. I think they scored nearly all their points there in the second half. So those guys played well, took over kind of the scoring load for Dohan, and got another conference victory. We were talking about that earlier. The SEMO Conference standing, still pretty early. We saw a team like Notre Dame has already played in 5 conference games. They're 2-3 already, so they played a ton. And then looking at some of the other teams, Jackson's still undefeated, Cape's undefeated, Sykeston's undefeated, and Poplar Bluff, who we will be seeing Tuesday at Jackson, has yet to even play a conference game, so that'll be their first one.
Yeah, so obviously the conference tournament does not count regular season conference standings. So Caleb mentioned all those teams undefeated. You're like, how could that be? The conference tournament does not count towards the regular season. Right. So yeah, a lot will be decided over the next couple weeks.
Yeah, I mean, the only teams that are kind of, you'll classify as kind of being in the cellar, Kennett's 1-3, and New Madrid is 0-3. So those are kind of the only teams that are definitely on the bottom. Yeah, everybody else is still going to be pretty competitive. Notre Dame's already played 5 games, so you don't expect them to maybe jump into winning the conference, but they'll still be competitive. They're still a very good team. They still obviously, like we saw against Kennett, have moments where they play really, really well, and so it'll be exciting to kind of keep up with them. And then also, we talked about Sykeston losing to Farmington. They bounced back, had a big victory over St. Mary's Southside, which is in Class 5 District 2, a team they could be playing, so good win for them. And then Something we get to actually kind of hit on a little bit here, Cody, is girls basketball. We had mentioned in the last podcast we did, Jackson had not played a game since December 20th. I think Cape had played one, Notre Dame had played one. So there's not been a lot of girls basketball up until this week. Jackson got kicked off. They went to Farmington, played a good Farmington team. Farmington's one of those girls teams that are always very solid, especially in that corridor, I guess, between Jackson and St. Louis. Farmington's always very, very solid. So Jackson went up there, kind of got the rust off, 148-40. And then also Cape Central got a big victory. They played Kelly 64-33. Good wins kicking off kind of the new year for both of them. And then I was there for senior night in Jackson, and they blew out Cape Central. I mean, obviously you could tell Jackson is the class of the SEMO Conference. They did win the SEMO Conference tournament. I think you have that pulled up. They won the SEMO Conference tournament early in the year by a ton, very decisively through all those games.
Yeah, won the conference championship by 30. But yeah, you talked about beating Cape Central by 38. Jackson girls also undefeated in regular season conference. So just the one loss on the season to St. Vincent.
Yeah, they had a lot of time to, I think about that game and kind of mull over some of the mistakes they made and then come up and play well this week.
Yeah, very good team. Park Hill Central, 6-point win for Jackson over the weekend.
Yeah, they beat Park Hill Central, which Park Hill Central is coming off a state championship run. They lost in a state title in Class 4 last year, so Jackson's having a good stretch here to kind of get started last week, and they have a lot more good games coming up. You got the schedule over there. They have Lindbergh tournament. A lot of good games coming up.
They have pretty much. I mean, if I'm looking at the website, right, no games this week for Jackson, but yeah, Lindbergh tournament the 27th through the 30th of January.
Yeah, always very competitive. And then some of the names there for Jackson, I mean, it's who I expect to see from what I've seen of Jackson in the past, but they had a solid crew. Senior night, it was pretty even scoring across the board. Cameron Alsdorf, she made a few threes there in that ball game, 2 or 3 of them, especially early. She had 13. Addison Henderson, Kate Deck, both freshmen that play for that team are both fantastic players, both do, a lot of things well, especially only as 9th graders. They look fantastic. Addison had 11. Kate had 10. I think Riddle had 10. She made a couple of threes. That was a fun game, big senior night victory. A lot of people got the knockdown shots, and like you said, Park Hill Central, Kate Deck led the Indians in scoring there. She had 17. She made 3 threes. You kind of can see some crossover there between her and her brother. On the boys' side, Cole leading the team in scoring. Kate, already a very talented player, just a 9th grader.
For sure.
Yeah, and a couple other, I guess, notable games. So that Saturday was the Lady Indian Showcase. That's where Jackson played and beat Park Hill Central. Cape fell big by 49 to Neelyville. It was a tough team from down south. Saxony girls lost to Narix Hall close. In the other game, Delta and Dexter. Delta came away with a big 30-point victory. In that one, Delta very solid. They still have a lot hanging around from their last few Final Four runs. They have some good players there still, so I'll be expecting to see them play competitively against some of the bigger schools they face the rest of the way. But yeah, it's been a good week of girls basketball. Like you said, Jackson has the week off. Forgot to mention Notre Dame went to Sykeston, picked up a conference victory for them. Olivia Wagner played really well in that ball game, had 15. Liza Barnett had 12. So yeah, a lot of good players in the area. Wagner, Barnett, upperclassmen. Mia Panton had 10. So they're probably going to be meeting Notre Dame and Jackson, that is, for that regular season conference crown, I would guess. Jackson did and kind of blow Notre Dame out at Notre Dame in the SEMO Conference tournament for the girls, but I expect Notre Dame to be fired up when they do get to actually face Jackson again later in the season. Yeah, Cody, any more thoughts wrapping up this past week that we've seen?
Yeah, I mentioned a 6-point win for Saxony girls. I want to look over that. New Madrid County.
Oh, yeah, they wouldn't.
New Madrid County won that game.
New Madrid knocked off
New Madrid County won by 6. So.
Yeah, and Saxony, another team is kind of used to a lot of success, I would say. A little bit of a down season. They've graduated a lot of girls the last few years, so they're playing a lot of young girls, having a little bit of a down season, as I said, but I do think they will keep improving this year, and it is kind of a investment in the future. They're playing a lot of young girls, so excited to see how they progress as we move on. But yeah, just a good week of basketball. I enjoyed what I got to see. Obviously, I was at the Hillsboro game, Jackson. No signs of really anything different, anything wavering. And I got to talk to Coach Brownsberger after the game, and then kind of the play into what we're looking at for next week. Jackson's first game will be Tuesday. They'll be taking on Poplar Bluff. As we mentioned, Poplar Bluff hasn't played any SEMO Conference games. They played in the SEMO Conference tournament, obviously. They went 2-1 there. We were talking about it before we got started. Poplar Bluff has played a really tough schedule of out of area teams.
Yeah, they're hovering around 500, but a very good out of state and in state teams. They do a good mixture. I mean, obviously, Vashon, you talk about some of the best around the area in Poplar Bluff. Don't let the 500 record fool you.
Yeah.
That is a home game for Jackson. Jackson with 2 games this week, conference games, both of them at home. So look forward to it.
Yeah, I mean, just look at the names. Like, they've won 1 of their last 6 ball games, which sounds rough. But yeah, like you said, they played Vashon, Webb City, Joplin, played a team out of Wichita, Kansas. They played at West Plains, at Kickapoo. I mean, they're playing very good teams. They're going on the road. They're playing very far away from home for all these games. So, yeah, they've been playing a tough schedule. So, like, yeah, if you're a Jackson fan, you cannot overlook Poplar Bluff. They are going to be tough. I mean, it's a rivalry game, right? Like, it's a SEMO Conference games. I think the team's a little more, if you want to say hatred, and there's a lot more there on the football field usually than maybe on the basketball court. But, yeah, this will definitely be a big game. I expect a big crowd, and Poplar Bluff and Jackson to really come out fired up for it.
Yeah, I mean, Poplar Bluff will either be first or last in the conference after this one. So first conference game for them.
And, when you see Poplar Bluff, they're led by a couple of the coaches' sons. Brendan Durden has been around now for a while. He's a senior. He's been their leading scorer the last couple of years. And now Sammy Durden on the varsity. He's played very well. Him and his brother, you can usually count on them being 1-2 in the scoring column. I'm excited to see how Jackson is able to try and contain them. And also a guy, Dallas Williams, has been around for a long time. Dallas Williams, a fantastic three-point shooter. So a lot to be excited about for that matchup. Be a lot of fun. But before we get to Tuesday, skipped over Monday, which we have I think an interesting game. You have Cape going to Scott City. What do you kind of think about maybe what to expect or what you're kind of wanting or expecting to see personally?
Yeah, game was supposed to be played a couple weeks ago, had a floor problem, so got rescheduled for Monday night. But yeah, I for sure expect that. We mentioned that we don't have a lot of up and down games here in the around the area, but that one I expect it to be one of those kind of like the Woodland Scott City game was, kind of first to 80 wins, up and down ball game.
Yeah, Scott City. I mean, we saw them in the Christmas tournament. They played Jackson. They're 11-2. I mean, they're a good team. They are. I mean, you can say the same thing about Cape though. They're not super deep. They start 5 guys that can all shoot, that can all score, that can all handle the ball. And their last game, so I watched most of their East Prairie game. They played at East Prairie. It was one of the better small schools in the area. They beat East Prairie 59-52. And in that one, and recently, they've had Jackson Gloth starting, and with the Max Snyder. Remember Max Snyder was all-tournament team at the Christmas tournament. Had some huge games. I think he went for like 30 against Notre Dame. Against Notre Dame. So they've been bringing him off the bench. He's a sophomore. That's a lot of that also. I mean, they're a young team as well. So Scott City's good. I think they have a chance to, maybe pull off the upset. Obviously, Cape is a bigger school. You could say more talented probably, but it'll be a road game at a small school environment, which is always tough to go into.
Yeah, one of the games that if you're around the area, you like to see. You go into those small gyms. Scott City's only blemishes coming at the Christmas tournament, so play very well at home. Should be a great game.
Yeah, and Cape is playing well. I mean, the defensive side, especially, you look at their last couple of games, 2 SEMO Conference games, both at home. They held Dexter to 36. They held Notre Dame to 33. So it might not be what you're used to with, a bunch of guys, 5 guys on the team that all might be playing college basketball scoring 70 points, but they've been playing just out of this world defense. Then progressing there, so Cape plays Monday. They play Scott City. That'll be a tough game. They turn around. They play New Madrid. I mentioned hasn't won a SEMO Conference game. They just got beat by 53, I think, at Charleston the other night.
Yep.
Things not going well for New Madrid right now. I would have to expect Cape Central to probably win that ball game, probably win convincingly, if I had to guess.
Yeah, even though they're playing on back-to-back nights, Cape Central should handle New Magic County.
Yeah, and then staying in kind of the SEMO Conference, Cape County region. Notre Dame has a game Thursday night. Not something you usually see, boys basketball. Most teams don't play Thursday. They play Malden. Kind of another situation like New Madrid, but even more exaggerated. According to Misha, Malden is 0-11. So going into Notre Dame, you got to play the game, obviously, but I expect Notre Dame to win that and win that by a lot.
Yeah, see a up and down ball game for Notre Dame. Expect a running clock for sure.
Yeah, and then we get to close out the week Friday. What's the big one? The kind of the crown jewel of the week, maybe Jackson and Cape, the in-county rivalry. I guess kind of the big game for us here. Exit 99 Sports. It is we are the halfway point between those two towns. So I don't know. What do you expect, Cape Jackson? What do you expecting to see in that one?
Yeah, will be their third meeting. They're 1-1 against each other. Obviously, the conference and the Christmas tournament. So this one at Jackson, as I already mentioned, should be much of the same. Yeah. Kind of a grind it out. Both teams probably hover around the 50-point mark, and defense usually comes away. Defense and free throws, right? Tight games.
Yeah, Cape Jackson, the trilogy, if you will, here. Yeah, it'll be a good game. I'm excited. Neither team has got to play on their home court against each other this year. Like you said, we played at Sykeston. Cape won that ball game close. I thought in that ball game, a lot of the issue for Jackson was handling pressure up high. Jackson did not do well, I don't think, handling the pressure of Cape Central. Cape got up into him, and Jackson really struggled with turnovers. Cape beat him by 7. But we had turnaround quick, went to the Christmas tournament, played each other in the championship game, big crowd. I don't know. I would say it's pretty partisan crowd, 50-50, if you will, and then Jackson came away 50-41. I mean, takeaways in that ball game, Jackson did a really good job on Tyshandre Edwards. I would say that was kind of the big X factor, especially early in the ball game. I don't remember what Edwards closed with exactly point total wise, but early in the ball game, he felt like he started 0 for 5, 0 for 6, 0 for 7 in that first quarter. Jackson forced him into a lot of perimeter shots. I think the Indians came out and played a lot of zone that ball game, so I probably expect more of that. But you can also expect Cape Central, if they get a lead, to be very liberal with their clock use. If they do get a lead later in that ball game, I expect them to pull it out, as they haven't been showing a lot of propensity to get up and down so far this season.
Right. Yeah, I expect more of the same. I mean, taking care of the basketball will be vital. And I'd probably give a slight edge to Jackson just because it is their home floor, familiar with the background, everything like that. And expect Cold Deck to show up in that one.
Yeah, and Jackson on a 10-game win streak right now. I mean, like you said, maybe overperforming expectations a little bit. It's kind of the theme for a lot of teams. Cape is the exact same way. Both teams graduated 4 of their starters. They both bring back one very good player, obviously, in the starting 5. For Jackson, it's Cold Deck. For Cape, it's Tyshandre Edwards. And both those guys are the leaders of their team, obviously, especially offensively a lot of nights. It'll just be who shows up for Jackson. I mean, obviously, if Cold Deck is able to hit around his season average, he's still around 25 a game. So, if he's around his season average, just kind of who steps up. What guys, I mean, it's obviously up and down, I think, the roster, different people kind of step up each night, but what have you liked so far individual-wise from Jackson this season?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, you mentioned exceeding expectations. For sure on the defensive end. I didn't think that they would be a very good defensive end. You mentioned rounding into themselves, shot blocking at the rim, freshman stepping up there, but you expected Cold Deck to lead the team in scoring, and you knew that he would have to average a lot. But yeah, Jackson, only 2 blemishes on the season. Principia loss doesn't look that bad. They're still undefeated, I saw. So, and then you lost and split with Notre Dame, or split with Cape Central there. So, yeah, Jackson, a very good team in the season.
Well, like you said, yeah, it's just been a lot of different things. Like Jory Toma has had good individual performances lately, in my opinion. He's stepped up and made big shots down the stretch, especially. Colton Toma, this last ball game, he's been somebody that we haven't maybe talked about a lot individually.
Yep.
Colton came down the stretch, went 6 of 6 from the free throw line to close out that game against Hillsboro. I mean, he was huge. And so he's been playing well. I mean, he's a senior point guard. His game usually isn't shooting 15 times a ball game. He does a great job defending the other team's primary ball handlers a lot of nights and taking care of it. That's been a big thing. Like, that has been the X factor for Jackson some of the times where they have struggled, you could say, especially in the SEMO Conference tournament. Their games were all close. They beat New Madrid by 4, lost to Cape by 7, beat Notre Dame by 7. And a lot of the issues, a lot of the things that kept those ball games close was kind of the turnovers. But you'll see that obviously with a lot of young guys handling the ball. And I think between Colton Toma has improved a lot, but then Jory Toma, Blaine Reagan, those guys especially that handle the ball a lot have really improved exponentially in my opinion.
Yeah, the big man, you don't want to leave them out. Lee Ivey, 6'4" senior at the rim, doing a great job. Thompson, I mean, you could really go down through the whole roster.
Yeah, that's kind of the fun thing about this team is it feels like, a saying in football a lot is running back by committee. It's a lot of position by committee for this team. It doesn't feel like the same guy is the one just dominating the minutes every game even.
Yep.
Like Coach Toma has shown that he'll switch out the starting lineup depending on matchups. And, like you said, Thompson, Ivy, Criddle, and Ernst have all done different things well. They all have their own, strong suits. Obviously, Ivy and Thompson maybe a little bit stronger, bigger body down low. Saw a lot of them against the big man from Hillsboro, but then Ernst has had a lot of minutes and a lot of good plays. I mean, only a freshman, but he's been playing really, really well. Had a few really nice games. He was the leading scorer in that Farmington win, which looks even better now. He had 14 in that ball game. Yeah, these guys have just been playing well, and it's been, you expect Koldeck to do what he does, but it's been different guys, and especially on the defensive end, like you said, you didn't expect us to be where we're at defensively, and all those guys just play so well defensively, especially out on the perimeter. It's kind of the Jackson scheme, I guess, of taking away gaps, and their guards are fantastic, especially, a couple of guys I keep mentioning, because Cody and I have seen them a lot. Blaine Reagan, Jory Toma, great football players, especially Reagan. Reagan been a starting corner for 2 years. They kind of use their physicality they're used to guarding out there on the perimeter. Yeah, then we got a few girls' games, not many girls' games this next week. You said Jackson doesn't play at all. Their next game will be at the Lindbergh tournament on the 27th, I believe, is when that tournament kicks off. Monday, we have a few games. If you want to watch girls basketball, the game you want to see is Monday. Notre Dame hosts Donovan. Donovan is very good team. What you have Donovan over there, Cody? What's their record right now?
10-1 on the season.
Yeah, they're very good. I know last year, I think them and Notre Dame split games they played against each other, and they faced off at Notre Dame, and I believe the district championship game, and that was an awesome ball game last season. So those two teams are very talented. Donovan, somebody you might not see a lot of if you live around Cape Jackson area, but their girls team right now is pretty special. They're in a really good spot. Yeah, last year Notre Dame beat Donovan 59-57 in the district championship game. So I'm expecting that to be a big-time ball game if you're looking for good girls basketball, especially early in the week. That's where I turn. Cape is going to be on the road. They'll be playing in a tournament, I believe, in Carbondale. They're playing Mount Vernon, Illinois. Saxony will be hosting Fredericktown, who's usually a pretty decent squad. And then the only other notable girls game in this Cape Jackson area is Saxony will be at Poplar Bluff. So not a lot of girls action next week. It'll be a lot of boys games, very boys heavy, dominant. We talked about the games that we're, going to be seeing the most of, but there's a lot more games in the area, especially if you like a little bit smaller school basketball. There's some really good games. I know Woodland and Bloomfield play, Bernie and Puxico and Dexter. So there'll be a lot of really good games here in this area, which you expect. It's, January 19th. So we're really in the heart of the season and heart of conference play, like you mentioned earlier.
Yeah. Big game. Saxony's got a couple, Delta, St. Pius, but yeah. Fikeston on the road. So should be a good one tomorrow night.
Yeah, we haven't talked. And then, you mentioned Saxony be playing. Saxony boys have a couple games. They host St. Pius Friday. They host Delta Tuesday. I think it'd be a good game. Delta and Saxony. We saw Delta in the Christmas tournament a few times. They're pretty solid. Saxony, not the best year right now. They're in the first year under Coach Darren Scott. They're having a little bit of a tough season. They're another team who, like a lot of teams we've talked about, they lost a lot of production. They lost 2 guys off last year's team that both averaged 20 points a game. And so they lost a couple other seniors, if my memory serves correctly. They went up they played in a tournament in Chester, had a tough go there, dropped 3 games to New Athens and Valmeyer, Illinois, and also dropped one to Valley Catholic. So they do get a couple of home games. They haven't played at home since December 17th. I'm hoping their kids show out, their fans show out. Hopefully able to pick up some victories here, especially this back half of the season. A couple of home games starting out at least. And then they go, I haven't looked at the schedule too closely. They go on the road then for about a month straight. So if you want to see Saxony basketball, get there this week, Tuesday, Friday. Yeah, Cody, what are you excited for this week? We got a couple of big games ourselves.
Yo, obviously the big one, Cape Jackson Friday night, but should be good. Jackson 14-2 on the season and vying for maybe a district title. Cape Central looking to try to get up there with Sykeston for their district title. So, yeah, should be some good games, meaningful games in the conference for sure.
And then you have Jackson pulled up there, obviously looming for the Indians once we get to districts. Cardinal Ritter, I think they've won 3 straight state titles, maybe like 4 and 5 years, something crazy like that. Yeah, it will not be easy once we get to that point. Cardinal Ritter's one of those teams that play a little bit of a national schedule, so who knows what their record is right now. You see probably a lot of losses, but they are going to be tough once we get to February.
Yep.
Yeah, then I guess one non-basketball shout-out I saw on social media, Coach Nesbitt, football coach of Jackson, posted that Iowa State was down, looking or watching them, work out, practice, talking to some of the players, stuff like that. And I saw, I think kind of specifically, they talked to Bryson Wessel, so something to look for. Wessel, a couple other guys also destroying the wrestling game in Southeast Missouri right now too. So pretty cool. Just a couple of, Jackson kids getting noticed down here a little bit. Obviously we know we got a long way until football season comes around, but very special group there. Yeah, Cody, anything else you got closing out this last week and kind of looking forward to the week we have ahead?
That's it. Good recap of the week.
Yeah, I think we've covered just about everything. And, like we mentioned over and over again, awesome week of basketball. Jackson plays 2 big conference games. So we have a lot to look forward to. It's going to be a fun week of basketball, just kind of plugging our own thing. If you want to listen to some basketball, Cody and I do call Jackson basketball games on the radio on 104.7 The Bridge. So you can listen to us if you feel like listening to us more after we're done here. So 1047thebridge.com where to find us. I know Ryan has them on 95.7 Cape Radio for Cape Central games. So yeah, go ahead and check us out. Listen. I know both teams live stream. Ryan does a live stream on YouTube as well. So check us out. There's a lot of places to find good basketball, even if you can't get to gyms. But if you are able, I do implore you to maybe get to the event center this week, especially that Friday night Cape Jackson game. I hope to see it, sold out, packed out to the rafters.
For sure.
Yep. So thank you guys for watching and listening. It's been a fun week of basketball and an even better week ahead. So, for us here at Exit 99, thank you for listening. Have a great week.